And as Corey said, I have published 2 books with Corey's help, of course. And the first book is From Startup to Success, Navigating the Journey to Becoming and Staying a Successful Entrepreneur. And the second book is From Advisor to CEO, and that book is specifically for female financial professionals. Yeah, I mean, writing a book was an incredibly interesting journey, and because it was my first time, with the first one that I wrote. It was also very rewarding, very scary. I felt very vulnerable, all the emotions all wrapped up into one. But in thinking back, it was probably one of the best things I could have ever done. In fact, I was at a meeting last night, and I was sitting next to some women who are now girlfriends, and the one woman said, I should just write a book. And I said, well, I've written 2. And so she's like, well, now maybe I better get on board. And so it's been such a rewarding experience having done it.
That's awesome. And I've mentioned this before off and on. Melanie was one of my first coaching clients. And so it was just so amazing getting to sit down and dig into that beginning stage of writing the book with her and, kind of working together on it and bringing it to fruition. Tell me a little bit about that writing journey. I know you mentioned that it was a lot of emotions. What was it like for you walking through that book for the first time? And don't be afraid to call me names if you need to.
I won't call you names. It was interesting just walking through it for the first time because I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know really how to do it in a way that would be a good representation of me and be the product that I expect that I put out for the public. And so I felt that it was incredibly important to have somebody help me with it that has experience, that has been there, done that before, because I didn't know what I was doing. And it was interesting because I found that I had a relatively decent knack for writing, which I didn't know I had in me, but then just the whole formatting and making it work together, that was definitely where I wasn't sure what I was doing. So, there were definitely a lot of times when I put it down and I wouldn't look at it for a while. If there was particularly what I've learned now, a couple of years later, is that when there was a particularly vulnerable piece of the book that I felt was vulnerable for me, and now in looking back, it really wasn't even all that vulnerable, but, I would avoid it, I would procrastinate. So that was really one of the biggest challenges for me in getting it done in a quick fashion. I personally really love what you've done subsequently with some of your group coaching programs, and writing your book fast and really having that great system for people to be able to do that and get it out. Because, as you know, as business owners, we have a lot of stuff going on. Lots of meetings and just fires and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really important that if you do want to go down the path of writing a book, that you can do it in an efficient way. So your help was so incredible for that.
Thank you. And you did touch on the fact that there's a lot of vulnerability with that. And, now looking back, obviously it's not going to feel as big to you, but it is perfectly normal for people to feel that as they're going through a book and sitting down and writing their stories and actually avoiding the pieces that make them feel like they're being vulnerable. So I did want to mention that it's perfectly normal, and you still get your book done and you do another one. So I did want to talk about, because you were in this unique situation where you were just so inspired to write a book, but you hadn't yet launched your coaching program. So let's talk a little bit about that, about what happened after the book, about the doors that it opened, all the fabulous things that you've been doing.
Yeah, so I initially wrote a book to help people. I wanted to, produce something that would help them learn, do the things that I've learned over the 20 some years of being an entrepreneur. And it was interesting because I didn't initially have any real expectation that it was going to go in this completely different direction than what I was originally envisioning. But it definitely led to, many doors being open. I've had a lot of speaking engagements as a result, talking about this. I, as you alluded to, started another company that focuses on helping business owners do the things that are in the book, because I found the education is great, but the implementation is equally as important. And a lot of times people need help with that. As I truly believe, as a result of writing the book and speaking, I had the opportunity to take over Pittsburgh Women's Mastermind. So it's been an incredibly, as I said before, interesting, rewarding, unexpected journey after publishing the book.
Awesome. So, okay, so we had the first book, From Startup to Success, and that launched in, is that 2017?
Yep.
Yeah. And then a few years later, I think it was 2020, we did that last year, right?
We did.
Melanie wrote From Advisor to CEO. So let's talk about the difference between the two books and why you wanted to kind of niche down and focus on that group.
Yeah, so the first book was definitely for general audience and just some of those foundational components for business owners that we all should be aware of, have in our businesses. I grew up, if you will, professionally in financial services, and so as a female in financial services, it can often feel like a pretty lonely place. But for whatever reason, sometimes luck, sometimes stubbornness, sometimes actually having a good plan, I've survived, 23 years now in financial services as well. So I still own a financial planning firm. And I felt that it was really time to give back to other female financial professionals, maybe new ones that were going through some of the same things I went through early on in the industry. So I really wanted to, that was, a book from my heart, if you will, for that demographic, for those women who have lived through or are currently living through some of the things that I did, in the proverbial good old boys club in financial services. And now, of course, to be fair, it's not like that as much anymore. So a lot has changed, but it was important for me to do that for them.
That's awesome. And then I think you ended up, I don't know if it came before or after the book, but did you do a coaching program specifically for those people?
Yep. Yeah, in conjunction with, so I have a Elevate group coaching program specifically for female financial professionals to really help teach them the things that I've done to have a successful financial planning firm.
That's awesome. So how does that work with the book? Are you using the book like in the program or?
I am, yeah. So, I naively thought in the very beginning that I would write a book and I would sell millions and millions of copies and, have a movie written for my business books. Right now, I didn't think that, but I thought that I would sell a number of copies. What I've learned, though, the value in having a book, and this ties into how I've used them with my From Startup to Success business, it really enables the reader to develop a deeper relationship with you, if you will. And so I use the From Advisor to CEO book as part of really my onboarding process for the group coaching program, because it gives the reader additional background into my history. It gives the reader the why. It gives the reader the motivation for having this group coaching program and the importance of it. So I found that it was very helpful in, as I said, developing that deeper relationship.
And I completely agree with you. I talk about the relationship with that book all the time. I love that that's working for you with that program too. The example I love to give is, just for anybody who hasn't heard this example, when you sit down and binge watch like 5 seasons of a show, and you feel like you're best friends with the lead character, and you're like talking to them on screen, and you're like, oh yeah, me and Rachel were going and doing this. Like when it's that level of friendship that you get when you're reading a book and you're getting in someone's head, you're getting their emotions, you're getting, their why they're doing what they're doing. And I think you did an amazing job doing that with both of your books. So that's what we do with books. You build that relationship and you get people to want to work with you, and so you can help them, because that's what we're all entrepreneurs for, is to be able to help people and let everybody grow together. So I now completely forget what I was going to say after that, because I always get off on that tangent. So I was going to ask you, what is coming up this year? I know 2020 was kind of a crazy year, but now you've got your second book out. What's new? Is there, everybody's got to write 3, 4, 5 books, so I'm assuming that's coming too.
Oh, well, I just contributed a chapter to the book 21, which obviously Corey knows, as she is instrumental in that book. So that's coming out in April. So soon, like 20 days, 19 days now. So the launch for that. So 21 female entrepreneurs have contributed to that book. And it's an amazing book. I had the opportunity to get a sneak peek of that a couple of days ago. So that's coming out, and I don't know, maybe I'll have another book, maybe I won't. I find that, honestly, very candidly, because I have a hard time being completely vulnerable. Like for me, I think if I'm going to write another book, that's where I need to go, and that takes a lot out of a person. So if I write another book, that's probably the direction I'm heading. So we'll see. You will be the first to know, though, Corey.
Awesome. Yeah. And the book 21, I did want to mention that Kelly Commandor, one of my clients, is the one that started that. And, she's somebody that I connected with through the Pittsburgh Women's Mastermind, which Melanie runs. And a lot of the women are in that mastermind, and a lot of them had some really cool stories to contribute. So do be on the lookout for that coming out on the 21st. And I've been checking to see if anybody has questions. I know some people have hopped on. So if you do have questions, please make sure you drop them in the comments and we will answer them. Pick Melanie's brain. She's got some fabulous little nuggets in there to tell you about being an author. And if you're watching the replay, make sure you comment. We will answer them. And you get your name in the hat for some fabulous prizes here in a couple of weeks. So Melanie, wrapping up, what's one thing you tell people who have been thinking about a book and they're kind of dancing around the idea, not sure they're ready to commit?
There's no better time than now. And seek the help of an expert, of a professional, that's what they focus on. I have my area of expertise, and so it makes it easy for me to give help in those areas. Corey is an expert in hers, so seek out her help, because it makes it a lot easier to go through that journey of writing and publishing and giving to the world your work of art.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's just like anything else. If you want to, get healthy, if you want to start your business, if you want to do basically anything, you need to seek out somebody who's a professional to be able to help you out. And actually, I wanted to mention this too. After working on Melanie's book, I was like, oh, she really knows a lot of stuff. And then I ended up working with her as my coach at one point, because I had been through that book and I knew she really knows her stuff. This is somebody I need to work with. So it really, really works as a tool to help build your business. So Melanie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we still don't have any questions, but if you have questions, drop them below. Melanie, tell us where we can find you, where we can find your books, and we will also be putting the links in the comments.
Of course. So both of my books are available on Kindle, and you can get them paperback on Amazon. And if you have additional questions for me specifically, you can email me at Melanie, Melanie, at FromStartUpToSuccess.com, or visit the website FromStartUpToSuccess.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who joined us this morning.
Thank you, Corey. Have a great Friday.
You too.